Sean Capri, and welcome to episode 112 of We the GamerCast, the official podcast of WeTheNerdy.com, and it comes to you on iTunes, Google Play, and mother-loving YouTube every single Monday. Thank you for being here, hitting thumbs up, and subscribing, and rating us on iTunes, and sharing on all the good stuff that you guys do. I have to do a bit of a subdued, somebody should have told me not to scream hey at the beginning of every episode, because one day you're going to have a baby who's going to have to sleep through that. So some days are a little bit more energetic than others. The link is down for a nap at the moment. This is the time that I've got to do this. But guys, I'm getting way ahead of myself, because if you're new, here's the deal. Every week I have sweet hangs with a stranger from the internet. We talk about video games, and if you want to be part of the show, it's easy. Tweet at me at Sean Capri, Sean like Connery, Capri like the pants. There is so much stuff happening. There's all these games. October 27th has now passed. Mario, Assassin's Creed, what the heck else? Wolfenstein came out. All these different things, and aside from those games, tons of stuff going on outside of all of those things. I've got my Xbox One X, thanks to Xbox Canada. That video unboxing is up on youtube.com/WeTheNerdy right now. You can also see a gallery of newborn photos that Chelsea did. It's so awesome, guys. Like, you have to go check it out. I have the video and a few pictures, but if you want to see what a brand new console looks like, wrapped up and placed nicely in a basket, having a quiet nap, we have some of those for you. So a little different. Check out the unboxing. I really appreciate it, guys. And again, thank you so much to Xbox One, or Xbox, I guess, for sending the Xbox One. I'll be having my impressions up very, very soon. I'm excited to dive into it. But for now, the unboxing is there. I'm getting a little ahead of myself as well. Guys, there's so much. I skipped, but not on purpose. I just have so much to be excited about. Thank you to our Platinum and all of our producers and all of our amazing people at patreon.com/makeusbetter. You guys, seriously, that's why I think I got an Xbox. Honestly, like, it's because of the support, it's because of the engagement, and because of everybody at patreon.com/makeusbetter, like our platinum executive producers, Corey Hicks, our gold executive producer, Sheldon Benedict, and all our gentlemen executive producers, Nick Militia, Joel Brooks, James Johnson, Dr. Doom, Jesse Armstrong, Glocko Schaefer, Joey Hare, David Ray, and Mike Drummy. There are just so many of you guys. I can't even believe it. Thank you guys so much. So much to be excited about. So much to talk about. Big congratulations, by the way. Not to brag. Adam Leonard just had a baby girl. So shout out to Adam. Everybody I know is jumping on board. But if you haven't already, reach out to The Art of Adam L. He did my Twitter profile. He is so talented. He did all the artwork for many shows that you like and listen to. Megadad's obviously his, but If We Ran Nintendo, and many others. I know a lot of you have reached out to Adam Leonard for that. So I'm excited for him. I don't know how you're going to manage to do that, dude. That was bad timing on your part. So thank you and congratulations, Adam. Hopefully you're getting some sleep, man. I can't imagine. 2, I'm terrified for 2. Are you kidding me? Holy crap. I've spent the last week away. I spent about 4 nights holed up in a hotel room. I brought my Xbox, so that was kind of sweet. But I was going a little batty, and I wanted to say thank you to David Moore, Johnny Casino, and then informant, Annie Penezic, for keeping me company, because I was going a little crazy. I dove into Shadow of War just a ton, and I am hopelessly hooked on that game. It does this weird thing where it makes you think you're farther along than you are. Like, it has these little like victories and these little wins that you can celebrate along the way. Like, oh, you completed that little checklist of missions, but guess what? That just unlocked this whole other thing, and you're like, okay, I gotta go finish that. So I'm hooked. I'm in the loop. I'm about to finish Act 2, and I don't know how long Act 3 is. Now the panic starts to set in, because it's kind of like when you don't want to put yourself out there, you don't want to be vulnerable. Like, I kind of had my guard up on this one, and now that I love the game, I don't want to be hurt by it. I have other things to get to. Luckily, Amazon and Nintendo can't get their stuff together, because I still don't have Mario Odyssey. Everybody else is putting screenshots up. I look on my Switch, and 14 people are all playing Odyssey all at the same time. To me, the game hasn't even come out yet. Like, that's kind of how far removed I am. So thank you, Amazon, for that. I really appreciate it. It's so awesome. I guess I'll just play. How do I have an Xbox early and I don't have Mario, which I paid for legitimately? Like, that's kind of messed up. But whatever. I guess I'll just play Xbox on Super Sample 1080p and all that good stuff. Guys, I have been so busy, and it's so great because every freaking day, actually, it seems, I'm going to be guesting on a bunch of podcasts. Last week, if you didn't know, I was on the PlayStation podcast with my good friend, Joseph Moran, who you know from this show many times, E3 episodes and a traditional episode. I love that kid. One of my favorite, maybe, guest appearances ever. Maybe it's just because he was pumping my tires a little bit and giving me high fives, telling me I'm doing a good job and patting my back and stuff. But I think we had some really nice, evolved, intelligent conversations about some of the topics that you've heard people kind of regurgitate the same things over and over again. And I try really, really hard not to do that. And in doing so, who knows? You might discover something that you haven't heard before. So if you haven't already, go subscribe to the PlayStation podcast, because I'm going to be back this week. We're going to talk about Paris Games Week. I'm going to be doing that on the PlayStation podcast, as well as OK Beast with Blessing. Are you guys kidding me? Holy crap. So couple guest spots, PlayStation podcast, OK Beast. I'm going to talk more about OK Beast again next week, because I'm not sure. This is going to be a little bit of a different format, I think. Maybe a bit of an interview. I'm not sure. But look forward to that. If you haven't already subscribed to OK Beast, like, those guys are killing it. I've talked about Alex Van Aken and his video essays a ton. You should be checking them out on youtube.com/OKBeast, listening to their shows. They are what I'm striving for, guys. Honestly, like, they're the kids who I'm like, man, I wish I was doing that when I was 20 years old. Holy crap, these guys are absolutely spectacular. Can't wait to be on the show. Blessing and Joseph. I'll be returning to the PlayStation podcast. And one other thing, episode 100, Game Moves podcast. Brock McLaughlin, Ryan Turford, Drew McMillan. Guys, I'm going to be there in just a couple of hours after recording this. We are going to celebrate your 100th episode by talking about the best games ever. I've put together a list of my top 10 games, so if you guys want to find what I've come up with, I don't even know if I can release them. Top 10 lists are so hard. It's so incredibly hard. So I'm going to be going through that with the guys from Game Moves podcast. So please, Game_Moves_Cast is on Twitter. Of course, I'll be sharing this on my Twitter, so be sure to be on the lookout for that. Tons of stuff happening. I'm excited to dive into the Xbox One X. Again, you can find that unboxing at youtube.com/WeTheNerdy. Came with a whole crapload of free games. I don't know if you guys have seen people sharing this. I don't want to be like humble brag, like, oh, look at this, I got all these things. But I wanted to let you guys know that I have quite a few of the games that they gave. And so we're going to be giving them away. I'm kind of trying to come up with a great way to incentivize the giveaway, and also make sure that we're doing the best thing for probably the Xbox Drive. Try to get that show. That probably makes the most sense rather than this show. So follow the Xbox Drive. It's just at the Xbox Drive. We're going to be figuring out a giveaway. Games like Destiny, Gears of War, Halo 5, Halo 3. What the heck else was there? I think FIFA was in there, Madden 18. There's a whole Forza 7. Whole bunch of stuff, guys. We're going to be giving them all away, so be on the lookout for that at the Xbox Drive. I can't freaking wait. Assassin's Creed Origins was one of those games that came with it. That one I'm keeping for me. That one I can't wait to see. I'm hearing great things about how it looks on the X, so I'll be jumping into that very soon. Stay tuned for impressions. Guys, this episode is so incredible. Like, this whole week is just like an explosion of awesomeness. We're closing out our October, our first month of returning guests. Thanks to everybody on patreon.com/makeusbetter. November is going to be Nintendo Dad's month. We've got Zach Erickson and Justin Masson coming up. There is just too much to even fathom. I've got pages and pages of notes to go over, but I think that's probably going to be enough, because you're here, because Cissy Jones was on my computer screen. I was going to say, we talked in person, but through the connection of the internet. So thank you so much to Cissy Jones. You guys know her probably from Firewatch, and we get into it, but this all came about because I was being a bit of a sarcastic Twitter person, talking about how Firewatch wasn't Game of the Year. And then Cissy joined the conversation, so that was interesting. So I decided at that time, I will strike while the iron is hot and just ask her to come on. And I think we had a tremendous conversation. I want to give a high five to John Wahl. Thanks to you, man. This wouldn't be possible without you. So I appreciate you and your love for Firewatch, and everybody who loves Firewatch. I'm just saying, it wasn't my Game of the Year. All right, why don't we go ahead and get into it? You know her. Cissy Jones is on Twitter at Cissy Speaks. Here she is, Cissy Jones.
Okay, so I understand I am on the record at this point.
So stop shit talking, no more, none of that. We'll just launch it right now. I really enjoyed starting the show like that, so then people think that we just spent the last 20 minutes like talking about somebody that they might know. Maybe like our good friend John Wahl, who you came to the rescue. I'm just going to start right here, Cissy, because I'm actually shocked that you're here, because this all came to be because I've been kind of poking fun at a good friend of mine, John Wahl from the Mega Dads, that his favorite game of the generation, game of the year, game of the decade is Firewatch. So Congratulations. He's not the only one. And I've been playing the devil's advocate, maybe a little playfully so. And I was a little embarrassed on Twitter not too long ago when he called me out, and I'm like, Cissy has no idea the context of what's happening here. All it looks like is that I'm being a troll on the internet, shitting all over Firewatch.
To be fair, I didn't read anything that you said. If there's one thing I have learned in a position of like somewhat public-facing work is like don't read the comments.
Fair.
So I have no idea what you said, but the
well,
the
now
idea,
now I'm embarrassed.
Well, shit. Now I'm gonna have to read it, and I'm gonna be like, why did I agree to talk to that guy?
Exactly.
No, there's so much hatred right now, and there's so much people not listening to the other side, and kind of my mission in life is to accept people and to talk with people who may not agree with me. Not that you're like political about anything, but it never hurts to be kind.
No, that's true. Well, I'm Canadian, so I'm not even allowed to partake in all the conversations that are happening.
But I'm sure you could.
Well. No, I was gonna say there's a couple Canadians shot in the Las Vegas shooting, so that was a little upsetting for me. But we won't go there. I did want to talk to you about, because you still engage, like, even though we were talking a little bit about Firewatch, and I just want to put it out there. I loved it. It just wasn't my game of the year. So that's the context that we're diving into.
And that's the great thing about games. It doesn't have to be your game of the year. You don't even have to like it. You don't have to like Delilah. You don't have to like Henry. You don't have to like anything. But that's games. There's something for everyone, and that is what I love.
How was it for you? Because, like, when I think of Delilah, I think of E3, and I remember hearing your voice coming on the stage and just, like, being, I have got to play this game. Like, who is this woman? What is happening here? This Firewatch captured my attention from the moment that I saw it displayed. So what was that experience like having, I mean, you've been in games before, you've been doing this a little while now. But for that moment, that was kind of a big deal.
It really was. So it was my first job as a voice actor was for The Walking Dead.
Right.
I played Katja in season 1 and then a slew of others. But that's where I met Sean and Jake, who wrote Firewatch, who made Firewatch. And they kind of approached me a couple of years after The Walking Dead, and they were like, hey, we've left Telltale. We're writing our own thing with a female lead. Are you in? And I was like, yeah.
Of course.
Because you say yes. And, so that in and of itself was kind of a dream scenario.
Right.
Because it just doesn't happen in my line of work. It's nonstop auditions that you either hear back that you booked or you never hear from again until you hear them on the radio or the television and you go, oh, shit, that's what they wanted.
I guess that worked.
Yeah, and so to work on that, it was such a dream. And then that particular trailer that you're talking about, none of that dialogue is actually in the gameplay.
Right.
Because Sean was like, I don't want to give away the game. Like, I hate it when trailers
okay.
everything that's going to happen in the game. So I want to set the scene. I want it to be moody. I want there to be suspense. But I'm not gonna give away the baby.
I love it.
Right. And so recording that, it took us a couple of tries to really get what they wanted. And then hearing that, I was at that conference for E3. I was at the Sony conference, and hearing it come on, I was like, ah!
Right?
It was crazy. It's still crazy.
Because I think people really do, I don't know, maybe for some people connect with Henry a little bit more, but for me, it was Delilah right from the very beginning. So, like, when they say female lead, like, you're pretty much would you say that's the lead character in the game? Like, what a mysterious persona that you were able to capture. Like, who is this person? What is their motivation? Like, all those, like, typical actor things. But I've never been so intrigued by a character like that. Like, I like that. But for me, the game just wasn't like, oh, I love playing this. But nothing, like, the performances and the way it was written, everything about it was engrossing. So I do understand why people are so captivated by it. So was that conveyed to you very early on that was kind of the goal, was to have people wondering, what's with Delilah? Like, do we like her? Do we hate her? Do we trust her? How does that sort of creation come about?
So I think for Sean, who wrote the game, it was kind of an exercise in loneliness and loss. And what happens to us when we go through incredible loss? What do? Okay, we run away. Great. So we've run away and now we're lonely. And how do we fill that void? Mm-hmm. So for him, it was, let's create this feeling of paranoia and want and uncertainty in my loneliness. And what does that do? Mm-hmm. But his whole thing, and I know that the ending for a lot of people was really anticlimactic, and I get it. But his whole thing was like, this is kind of more of like what happens in real life. So let's say I'm home. Let's say my husband's traveling. Let's say it's just me. Every sound, I'm like, oh my God, someone's breaking in. Yeah. Oh my God, there's a ghost in my house, right? Like something crazy. In real life, it's never that complex. It's always a simple answer. And so I think that was really his kind of going force about the whole thing, was like, we can make it as crazy as we want, and we can have it be aliens, and we can have it be Delilah's in on the conspiracy. In real life, it would never be that. And I think that was kind of where he was going with it, is you can have this perfect little slice of life where you meet this person and you promise that you're going to be pen pals forever, and then what happens and you move on.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing, I guess, that I was maybe I wanted to meet Delilah. Maybe that was the thing that was missing for me. Spoilers, you don't ever get to meet Delilah. You never see her. But I guess I just did. I guess that now I finally have my closure. I'm meeting Delilah right now.
Well, and purely technically speaking, 8 people made that game. Yeah. And if you think about the amount of work it takes to create a face and to create mouth movement and eye blinks and breath in a person, that's why it was a walking sim, right?
Ask BioWare about that.
Exactly. So this was 8 people on a shoestring budget, and they still managed to deliver something thought-provoking and beautiful. And it may not have been everybody's game of the year, and I certainly understand that, but it made you think.
When did you realize that you had something special, though? Like, was it basically? I mean, these guys have The Walking Dead as part of their CV. So that you're walking into something pretty great. But at what point during the process, and even your participation as an actor in it, is separate from the rest of the game? So, like, do you even get a sense that you're in for something, or is it just part of the script? Is it more like a movie that plays out for you that you're like, yeah, this is going to be good?
The second Sean asked me, I was like, this is going to be something special. I know these guys. I know they're perfectionists. I know the quality that they put forward. Yeah. And so there was never a hesitation for me of like, oh God, is this going to bomb? Which is a scary thing when it's my name, Rich Summers.
Right at the top. Yeah. Not Humans. You were Humans. I looked up on Shadow of War. You were credited as Humans. So congratulations. It's a bit of a stretch.
In the patch, I'm actually also Nazgul. So,
nice.
Yeah.
How did they leave that out? That's kind of a big deal.
I had to go do some pickups for some stuff that got left out. So
nice.
But yeah, no, it was my first lead. I mean, I'd been hired to do leads in other things, and then I'd been fired because I didn't have enough social media following.
Seriously.
Yeah. So, but this was my first lead, like this, and it was exciting and it was terrifying. But then when they got Rich and I live like a mile apart from each other.
I thought you were saying when they got rich, like when they got paid.
When they got Richard.
Good old Dick.
Good old tricky Dick. But when they got Rich on board, and we did our first session, and so we live a mile apart from each other in Los Angeles. We've never met. I've never watched Mad Men. Don't tell him. But we filmed chronologically, or we recorded chronologically. We recorded as a conversation, which again in video games never happens.
Right.
So I was in my home studio, he was in his home studio, and we Skyped in together and recorded just like this. I recorded in this room. And so we started recording on that first night where she's like, "So what's wrong with you?" And she has no idea who this guy is. He has no idea who she is.
That's perfect.
She's a little bit drunk. And we went on from there. And the ease with which it happened was it was really incredible. And then we had actually recorded an alternate ending. We had recorded an alternate ending where about 2/3 of the way through, Delilah tells Henry he's crazy and to leave her the F alone. And she goes radio silent for the rest of the game. And the team came back and they were like, "It doesn't work. We need this conversation to happen. It's what drives the game." We're finding ourselves walking through, like trying to pick up the radio and nothing's happening.
Right.
So they wrote a whole different ending. And that, again, that's like, okay, well, it's the human engagement part of it that's really makes it work. And Rich and I had a great rapport. We got along really well. We've become friends since. It was just easy. It was like a zipper.
It's like a zipper. I love that. It's just kind of like fit together, not the broken zipper.
Yeah,
just that
wasn't
nice little that feels
like banging
good.
your head up against the wall or anything. It just happened. It was so effortless.
It's funny because you mentioned a couple things that I want to dive into. We're going to go all over the place. Whether or not we come back to the answer to the question, it doesn't matter.
I got my coffee.
Oh, so same with me. I'm like, wait a minute, I got 15 minutes. Okay, that's more than enough time to brew a little coffee and make me talk 10 times faster by the end of this. I want to talk about the social media thing that you mentioned too, because I've been noticing, and anybody who's really into games the way that we are notices the same names popping up over and over and over again. Shadow of War. I mean, Troy Baker. Does he need any more work? Like, the guy is in everything, and he's extremely talented, and he's a great musician, and he's handsome. I hate his guts. Like, seriously, no, he's absolutely amazing. What is it about? Like, we start to see the same names. Like, is there a name recognition that happens that pushes copies of games? Is that a thing?
Tell me. If you're a gamer, does it matter to you that XYZ celebrity's in a game? Does it matter?
I mean, not... Okay, so if I'm brutally honest, I think maybe I go like, "Oh, look at me. Look how much I know about video games. I recognize that." Like, I don't know if necessarily it's quite the same as, like, Will Smith or, like, leading a movie in that way, because maybe it's because you don't see them? I'm not really sure. I guess in a way that when I know you're in a game, or Troy Baker or Nolan North, we know that we're going to get like top tier performances. But I got to think that there are even more talented people out there than kind of the dozen or so that come to mind.
Well, I think it's two things. If a studio has the money to pay for those people, they know they're going to get what they need in one or two takes, and they can move on and
Interesting.
go to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which was very interesting with the strike. I don't know if you followed all of that, but
Yes.
A lot of stuff went non-union. Life is Strange went non-union, which broke my effing heart. But I have friends at large video game companies when the strike ended, and they were like, "Oh, thank you, Jesus!" Like, we would get a batch of 100 auditions, non-union auditions, from somebody recording from a flip phone in their parents' pantry, and out of 50 auditions, there might be one that hit the mark. Whereas union casting call, out of 10 auditions, there are 4 that hit the mark.
Right.
So it's a known quantity for sure. With Troy Baker, with Laura Bailey, with you're gonna get awesome, amazing, top tier talent. They hit the mark. It's not going to take a ton of time. It's going to cost you a little more, but you get what you pay for.
That's so interesting, because that's completely the opposite end of what the gamer would think. But also coming to the same conclusion is that that when these people are in the game, I'm going to get a great performance. And if nothing else, you may even be surprised by the range that they're showing, which is kind of, I guess, what you're saying. It comes part of the casting is that that there's going to be range. That you're not just going to get the same performance. So that's super interesting.
The part that I take that I have a hard time with is that social media following is starting to play into who gets the role. And I'll be on Twitter, I'll joke around, I'll like post random stuff. I don't like posting about my personal life.
Right.
Instagram, I'll post stupid pictures, whatever. But I don't think it speaks to what my talent is. I don't think it speaks to my ability to convey a character, to get you to invest emotionally in a character. And half of the time when someone is hired for that, on top of their talent, so it's talent and social media.
Right, of course.
They don't even talk about it on social media. So it's like, well then...
What was the point?
What is it, and are you going to put it in my contract that I have to tweet about it? Because that's another point. It's like, okay, well, listen, you hired me to be your voice. I'm not your marketing engine. So
you got the name on there, so isn't that enough?
Well, for some it is, and for some it isn't.
Right.
Which it's an interesting time in video games. There's a lot of things shifting, and I love working in games. I think games are so much fun. It's such a great way to tell stories and to engage people in a way that movies and television just can't. But there are some necessary evils, I guess, that come along with it. And I was talking to my agent and I was like, should I just go out and buy followers? Like, I've got 4,000 something, but if they want more followers, I'll go buy some. And he was like, no, those aren't the clients you want.
Right. Well, and that's the thing too, is that the numbers aren't everything. And it's funny how that ultimately is what people look at when it comes to sponsorship and promotion things. It's, all knowing, well, it's actually about the engagement, but that's a much harder thing to measure. I have a very, very humble social media following, but we do really well with people sharing and giving back and conversing with us.
And you're enjoying what you're doing.
This is amazing. Like, are you kidding me? This is the best. Yeah. I get to meet you and so many other incredible people because you do what you love first. I want to ask... sorry, go ahead. Real quick,
I would say the same for me. I started in Silicon Valley. I worked for 10 years in high tech, and I hated my freaking life. And I stumbled into voiceover by sheer dumb luck, and I happened to have a knack for it, and I happened to get an agent at the right time, and we moved to Los Angeles, and the rest is history. I get to do what I love. I have gripes here and there,
of course,
but for the most part, I can't complain.
It's pretty great.
I really can't. It's a great job. I'm able to live a wonderful life. I wake up excited every day instead of, when I worked in the Silicon Valley, waking up and my first thought was,
I just saw a picture of like a whole slew of people just working on their laptops on the train or on the bus to work. And somebody was like, this is what makes Silicon Valley like the best workers ever. Right. And that's what all the comments below were like, that looks happy to you. Like, do those people look thrilled to you? So the point was that they're extremely hardworking. Of course that people in high tech are, but like 90-hour weeks minimum. I mean,
oh honey, I was pulling 120-hour weeks.
Seriously, are there even that many hours? I don't know. I can't do the math, Cissy. I don't think anybody can do the math to know how many hours there are in a week.
It was mad.
What were you doing?
What wasn't I doing?
Oh God.
I was working for startups, and in startups, it is all hands on deck.
Totally.
Time. I would get text messages at 3:00 in the morning, and if I didn't answer within 10 or 15 minutes, I would get my rear end chewed out the next day in front of the whole team.
What?
I was stuffed in an office with those horrible blinky lights overhead. I was getting migraine. It was just hell. It was hell. I personally, you could see the ambition in some people, and you could see the tenacity, which was really, really cool. And you got to see new products being ushered in. But for me, I was just miserable. I was just miserable. My body was like failing.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, this is not this little rock that we're on, hurtling through space at 1,000 miles an hour. This is not what life is to me.
God, and it's so funny you say. Every now and then somebody comes on the show and talks about how like the cosmic nature of all of this stuff. And I really connect with that. I definitely like the pale blue dot is something I think of all the time. right? And I mean, I'm a huge fan of Cosmos, and I actually still want to go back and watch the original.
I have it.
Do you really?
I have it on DVD. Yeah.
I feel like that's something that should just be on TVs all the time. Like if nothing's on, just put on Cosmos. Like let's all learn a little something.
I have a friend who studied with Carl Sagan before he died. She was like, "It just changed my life," and I'm like, "My life is changing just listening to you."
I know. I mean, just the thought of, without this individual and a team around him, we may be still, or maybe we're not even exploring space anymore, but like putting a camera on those spaceships. What a brilliant idea. And turning it back around and going, we are a speck. And it's so funny. It just helps put whatever you're talking about into perspective. What they're talking about is Firewatch Game of the Year for 2015. Who knows? But yeah, we're just this little tiny thing. 2016. God, I'm awful. I'm sorry. So I love, and I feel like this is a theme with creatives actually, that we are often pretty introspective. We think about our place in not only the universe, but in like our circles, in our networks. What role are we supposed to be playing in life? And so I always love when somebody kind of mentions that, because I get a sense that kind of guides you through life in terms of where you are now. So when you're in Silicon Valley, I'm guessing that was one time the goal. Like you don't just end up there. There's training, there's schooling, there was intent.
I am one of those people, and this is going to sound crazy, but I've always just kind of stumbled into things.
Nice.
Yep. I graduated from college from the University of Oregon. Go Ducks.
That's where my dad went. Seriously.
You what?
My dad went there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And he came back to Canada.
Well, I mean, why wouldn't you? Free healthcare.
Right.
But in 2002, when I graduated, Oregon had the worst economy in the nation at the time. It was right after the tech burst. And I could either move home to Idaho and live with my parents, or so I was talking with a friend of a friend at a graduation party, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm working at a sushi restaurant in Palo Alto, California, and I'm making like $300 a night in tips." And I was like, "Oh, can I get a job?" And he was like, "Sure."
That'd work.
So I moved to California on a whim. Terrified my parents. Worked at the sushi restaurant. Had to get a second job at Wells Fargo.
Oh no.
Sorry, Wells Fargo. I know you've hired me for commercials since then. Love you.
Thanks.
But no, I was a customer service rep. It was all the lawsuits that are happening now.
Yeah.
Is because of the shit that was happening then, and awesome. I quit that job. It was terrible. But through working at the restaurant, I met some people that were partners at a venture capital firm, which are the big places that put the money into the startup companies. And they were like, "You seem really nice. You want to come work for our VC?" And I was like, "Sure." So I went to work for the VC. I started as a receptionist, and then I was good, and they promoted me to an assistant. So I did that, and then they had a startup company that needed an office manager. And so I went into the office management thing. And then, I mean, it just kind of happened. But
so
I think
literally the opposite of intent.
Well, I knew, yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah. But I love how, like, what about working at this, you're serving at the restaurant or doing something? So there's a performance element there as well. Like, where the arts in all of this?
It's just a social ability. Right. You know, if you're easy to work with and easy to be around, people want to sit in your section, right? And I have had this conversation with my husband a lot lately too, in that what I do as a voice actor is like, let's call it 20% talent, and the rest of it is hustle. The rest of it is being likable, being easy to be around, being directable. Being somebody that other people want to work with, making sure people know who I am, what's my name, what am I good at, you know. So it's doing workshops and having lunches and going to networking events networking events make me kind of have a reaction. No, and they used to make me feel that way too. Yeah. But the voiceover community is awesome. It's really some of the coolest people. So I love hanging out with them. I love going to Comic-Con with my voiceover friends.
Nice, yeah,
and like going to the hotel after the day of craziness at the floor and just bullshitting with people. It's so much fun.
Yeah.
But that's the biggest, the two biggest unsung parts of my career are networking, hustle, and auditioning, which is frequent and unpaid.
So what is that like? So you get a call up for an audition, you're recording in your house. Like, how much do you typically know about what you're going for? Is the majority games? You kind of talked a little bit about doing stuff for Wells Fargo, but you've really kind of carved out a niche for video games.
I do a lot of commercial.
Yeah.
I do a lot of video games. I do a lot of narration. I'm starting to do some animation.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's been super fun. But any week varies. I could get 7 auditions. I could get 30.
Yeah.
And it's I'll try to go to my agent's office if I can, or I'll do them from home, and then then you send them out into the ether and you hope you hear back, because otherwise you don't.
Yeah. So how do you balance it? Because I imagine you want to put your best foot forward, but good God, there's just 1,000 of these things that happen. Like, how are you able to kind of keep your mind and your sanity in terms of, I want this so badly. I need to get this part, this job, this thing. But at the same time, like, when you put yourself out there, it's a very vulnerable position. So to do that over and over and over again, like, how are you able to keep your mental health?
I have to let go of the first part.
Okay.
So I need this.
Yeah.
So I'm going to tell you a little story.
Oh, okay.
So when I first moved to LA, I had my agent, Dean Pinero, who is the best. Like, I love this guy. He found me when I was quote unquote nobody and was like, you have it.
Yeah.
You have it. And let's build it and make a lot of money together. He's great. And so I moved to LA and I was so desperate because my husband was still commuting back to the Bay Area. And
oh, wow.
Yeah, it was really hard. And, I'd moved us here for me, for this dream that wasn't even like a thing. It was just like, well, let's go give it a try, And so it was very scary. And there's a thing in voiceover called a slate. And it is when you say your name before you go into the audition. So you're basically saying, hey, I'm Cissy Jones. Here's my audition.
Yeah.
And so every audition, I was like, okay, this has to be perfect. Cissy Jones.
Oh, yeah.
And my agent called me and he was like, what are you doing? He's like, you are so desperate to book. I smell it in your slate. If I can smell it, they're smelling it.
Smell it in your slate.
Hires. And he was like, no one hires desperation. And he was absolutely right. So I took a deep step back. I started taking some classes and some workshops and some one-on-ones and just shook myself out of it and booked. I booked a grocery store that I still have to this day. 5 years later, I do their weekly specials, and because I had to let go of the desperation, which it's really hard to do. I mean, listen, I just auditioned for a thing the other day that would have been a massive video game thing, and I'm not gonna lie, I really wanted it. I didn't get it. I was on the short list for it, but they a different direction, and they're
Troy Baker, he's just the worst. He's taking everybody's jobs.
You son of a bitch. But no, I mean, it was, and that's part of it is like separating the audition from myself.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah,
that
totally.
Crazy. But just being like, okay, this would be super fun to get. And if I don't get it, it's not going to be the end of me.
That this is not the end. I mean, you have a bit of momentum that can carry you through. I want to go back quickly to Firewatch. Has that been a bit of a springboard for you, being the number one lead? Like, it gets quite a bit of attention, especially critically, and in that network of people who make those types of decisions. You're being noticed quite a lot. Like, did that change things for you at all, or was it kind of just back to life as normal? Well,
it did, and then the strike.
Of course. Like, why not? Just like, yes, this is the part of a lifetime, 1 in a million chances, and then, nope, we're not working.
What it has done is given me, like, a name brand. Yeah. So people go, oh, you're Cissy Jones. Yeah. I really want to talk to you about this other thing that I'm working on. And I'm like, great.
Oh, cool.
Find me. So there's that, which is nice, and that's the thing about Delilah was that it wasn't just grenade, get down, it really was. There was emotional depth to her, and there were three dimensions, which as women in voiceover in video games we don't often get, and so it was really nice to be able to have that and to have people now recognizing what that was and why they might want to work with me. Hi, work with me.
Hey, how would you describe what you would normally get if not this?
I mean, I get a lot of like, she's the sexy vixen, or she's the evil queen, or she's the mom, or because that's where my voice sits. Like I don't have that super high perky, Kari Walgren charm. Yeah, I'd sit in a deeper place, and but the so many drawings that I get are just like giant cans, little tiny waist, giant hips, and I'm not talking about headphones.
Right. Only 4 people thought you might have been talking about headphones.
But, I think we're also starting to see a shift in that 50% of gamers are women. Right. And they want to see more options. You see like Bethesda, every time they put out a thing, they have a male playable and a female playable. And you're starting to see more of that, which I think is awesome. And they're not just like, oh, what do we do now? Like I'm in Grand Theft Auto. Away?
Yeah.
And I'm literally a prostitute that you light on fire and steal my car and throw me out the window. So yay!
Hopefully not pulling from real life experience on that one. I mean, if you did, like, that's fine. That's you do you. That'd be all right. But I mean, it doesn't sound entirely pleasant. Yeah. Yeah. So I love having. I mean, my wife games right next to me. Like we've got 2 TVs right next to each other, and it was actually her idea. If she had it completely her vision, it would be 3 TVs. So one for TV, like actually watching TV in the middle, and then 2 games on the other side. And so for her, like. Are you kidding me? I mean, she threw me like a Mario themed 28th birthday party many years ago, and I was like, well, that's it. I have to marry you now. So yeah, it has definitely worked out. We named our son Lincoln so that we could nickname him Link, like Zelda. So it's like we are both huge nerds.
And your daughter's Delilah.
Yes, Delilah is you know what though? Sissy, I'm really sorry. It breaks my I have a 3-syllable rule. And it's because we have dogs, and I realized that I would never want to shout out after them if it was too many syllables. I don't want to call them here Kokanee, here Budweiser. No, too many syllables. And I've heard it. Trust me, those are actual examples for why I didn't want to. So yeah, I brought over our dog naming rules to our children. So Delilah Sissy works.
I mean, I'm just saying.
Can I ask? Is it stage name? Is that your?
Well, it's a family nickname. I've had it since birth.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, that's all.
So the point of the whole rambling was I love being able to have me play. So we'll play like Mass Effect or Fallout is a good example. You brought up Bethesda, and I'll be playing Fallout 4, and I'll be playing the guy, and she'll be playing the same, but as the woman. And I'm like,
who's Courtney Taylor, who's amazing.
I would replay Fallout 4 as the woman because I think that performance is 1,000 times better. And I get into this a little bit. Her name's Chelsea. We talk about this all the time about, like we watch Kind of Funny. We listen to a lot of commenters in the gaming industry, and What's Good Games has just come up. Andrew Renee and Christine Steimer and the whole crew.
Love them.
I love them too. And I'm like, we listen to so many average dudes talk about video games. Hi, right here. Just average, below average even. And then you've got somebody like Andrew Renee or Cissy Jones who's got to bust their ass off, who's got to be like in that top 0.5% for anybody to even pay attention to. And I'm like, I'd listen to average like intelligence or average performance from women as well. Why do the average guys get all of the limelight? And for me, I'm frustrated because I get the same thing all the time, and I can only imagine it's like 10 times for you.
Well, I think that's just what we've been used to.
Yeah.
Like as a woman in voiceover, I probably get a quarter of the auditions that my male counterparts do. Mm-hmm. It's just the way it's been. It's changing. It's changing slowly, but it's changing. I mean, you're starting to hear women in promo. So, I don't know if you guys get Shondaland up there, Grey's Anatomy and This whole block on ABC, and it's voiced by my dear friend Anna Vocino, and I think it's one of the first times there's been a woman on network broadcast television. Okay, I've done trailers.
What year is it?
It's 20. Yeah, I know.
Right.
I've done several trailers this year. Women don't do movie trailers.
Yeah.
Right. So the fact that I've had 3, I think, this year is massive.
Yeah, totally.
You know, and I did one for an action movie. I did one for John Wick 2. They don't have women on movie trailers for action movies. But it's changing slowly.
Yeah.
People are also starting to see in video games that women offer maybe a more complex perspective. Mm-hmm. Right. And so you're getting What's Good Games, and you're getting like one of my favorite video games journalists is Lucy O'Brien out of IGN Australia. I love her. She's brilliant, and she gives thought-provoking pieces, and she's funny, and she's charming, and she gets death threats on the daily.
Seriously.
And she was like, yeah, you know, it's kind of the mark of a good journalist these days is how many death threats have you gotten? How many times have you been threatened to be raped? And like that pisses me off.
No kidding. That's like it's happened so much that that we get desensitized. Go like, I guess this is a good thing. Like how unhealthy is that?
But you know, it's starting conversations.
Yeah. Well, and I want to give you credit too. Even just that it comes back to why we're even here. Is you actually engage with an asshole like me, and like I'm not. Like I promise, I'm pretty nice most of the time. But yeah, like there's just it's really unfortunate because I think it does keep a lot of people away because like who the hell has time for that? Like smart people actually just avoid that. Like they identify that's a negative energy and I don't need that as part of my life. So you just go like, no thanks.
Well, there's a safety in the anonymity of the internet.
Yep.
Right? So I can hide behind my username or my little egg on Twitter and nobody has to know who I am, and I can be whatever I want to be. Mm-hmm. Now, I choose to be me, and I choose kindness, and I choose respect, and I choose to try to engage when it makes sense.
Yeah.
But for a lot of people, maybe they really enjoy pushing buttons and seeing what makes people tick, and I feel sad for them, and I feel sad for the people that they're affecting. But all I can do is affect my little sphere.
Mm-hmm. And I think it does help. I definitely notice that, you know, the more positivity you put out there, the more you get back and all of that kind of good stuff. Speaking of Twitter, I wanted to ask you about, you have a very brief bio, which I absolutely adore. A complete dork. So one of my favorite things to do is kind of discover people's nerd cred. Like, where is the heart of your nerd cred? Why are you a complete dork? You don't seem like a dork at all. Actually, I'm the one with like toys and crap all
which
behind
I love,
me.
by the way. Well, you can't see a lot of mine. Let me see if I can show you some of the stuff.
Oh, here we go. We're going on a tour, everybody. Oh, look at this. We got Star Wars.
I've got my Firewatch Christmas card. I know you can't see the little star on top of the tree.
That's adorable.
I've got my I Rebel. Mm-hmm. I've got my little card from my bestie. I've got this that says "Do no harm, but take no shit." I've got this one that says, "First I drink the coffee, then I do the things."
I knew that one.
I've got this one that says, "Words, in my humble opinion, are the most inexhaustible source of magic we have," from Albus Dumbledore.
I freaking love it.
And I had a Figment dragon up in the corner, but my daughter stole it.
That's my wife's like favorite thing. Figment,
really?
The Imagination Dragon.
Yes.
Oh, we went to Disney World for our honeymoon, and I had never even heard of this before, and it's like her childhood thing. So you guys should hook up for coffee or something.
We're besties already.
Obviously.
Yeah, my daughter will sometimes come in and do auditions with me. Like, I have to hold her on my hip, and she'll have the headphones on, and it squishes her face, and it's really cute. But then I had the dragon up there, like, giving me inspiration, and she was like, "Dragon, Mama, I want dragon." So I was like, how do I say no to that?
Right. How old is she?
She's 2.
Aw. Are you having more?
No. Well, I have an older one, but...
That is all?
Done. Fun fact, I was actually pregnant with my eldest during a session for The Walking Dead, and I went into labor.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what people should do, because we have a 6-month-old now, but I'm still like trying to... my wife went a week overdue, which I mean, every moment.
So sorry.
And she had convinced herself that she was going early. So, like, all the scams were like, this baby's going to be enormous. You're definitely going to have it early. Like, don't tell people that, everybody. Just anticipate lateness, because I was carrying my phone around me at work, anticipating a call. And of course, it happens a week later in the middle of the night. But I didn't tell her to go ahead and start reading lines from The Walking Dead. Maybe she would have gone late.
Just get your face bashed in by a metal pipe. You know, it just happened like that.
Were you screaming? Like, was it an intense scene, or was it just kind of like reading some lines?
Did you play the DLC? 400 Days?
No.
Okay, so
it's on my iPad.
Okay.
I haven't got to it.
I played 2 characters, but one of the characters I played was named Dee, and I'm not going to give the spoiler, but she
gets her head bashed in.
Well, there's that.
Rest in peace. It's pretty old. I think we're fine.
Yeah.
What's your rule on spoilers, by the way? Do you have like a hard set rule? Because I had a long conversation about even what constitutes a spoiler. There's something that happens in The Force Awakens that I've had many conversations of whether or not that was a spoiler. It's like basically 2 words, and you can't not see that on Twitter.
Yeah.
Where do you come down on the spoiler talk?
My friends know the stuff.
Yeah.
I'm, like I said, complete dork, right?
Yep.
So, like, my friends know the stuff. And when I'm talking with people in a more public setting, I try to not spoil.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, listen, 400 Days has been out for 4 years now, so that's kind of on you.
Yeah, totally. I mean, and it's funny because I say it's on my iPad. God, I don't even know where that thing is. Like, am I actually going to get to this thing? So do you play games on the side too? Are you able to participate? Like where does that come in?
Here's part of my dorkdom. I learned to play video games like Super Mario Brothers and Legend of Zelda and all these like amazing games on the old school NES, right? That had the flat paddles.
Love it, yeah.
But I learned to play like this.
Of course, yeah, just over
top.
top.
I could run really fast and then jump without having to stop running really fast, right?
Smart.
So when they came out and it was all this, I was like, ah, and I freaked out. And so I'll watch playthroughs.
Yeah.
But I'm a terrible gamer. It's not possible to die in Firewatch, and I think I died in Firewatch.
Found a way, like that one cliff that you could actually fall off.
You
found Delilah, and then she's just there. You actually found it. That's incredible. So, do you have anything coming up that you're able to talk about at all? Like, or is everything top secret?
Destiny 2 just came out, which is good. I have a nice meaty role in that. There's another game coming out any day now, I think, called Where the Water Tastes Like Wine. It's another little indie. It looks really cool. It's kind of a tour through Americana, you know, in the turn of the century.
Nice.
More storytelling, kind of the interactive movie type of stuff, you know, which I really love.
Interactive movie is probably a better, like, we need something better than Walking Simulator.
Yeah.
Do you have something that we can just like start right now?
Interactive movie.
I guess you just said that, didn't you? That was a stupid ass question.
But, you know, it's funny, when The Walking Dead came out, everyone hammered it for not being a game.
Right.
You know, and they were
it sparked that conversation. What is a game?
Yeah, which I think is so cool, because it can be so many different things to so many different people. You can have your MOBAs, you can have your first-person shooters, you can have your role-playing games, you can have, you know, a walking sim.
Yeah.
You can have an interactive movie. And I think, like, God, isn't that great? Like, how many times have you been watching a movie and been like, no, go that way. I want to see what's over there. No, you can't.
Totally.
I just think it's beautiful.
I think it's also grown with like gamers as we get a little older, and, you know, a lot of us started in the same place playing NES, but now we're, you know, time is different. The availability of time is different. We have jobs. We can buy all the games that we want, but who the hell has time for Destiny? Like, seriously. And I played the crap out of that for about a week and a half, and I'm having trouble thinking, like, am I able to go back to that? So I think that, talking about that blue dot hurling through space, there's just been, you know, the right conditions existed for life to spark, and the same thing, the right conditions have existed now for all these different types of games. People have grown up with the same old. The time crunch is a little different. The availability of talent and learning from previous games on the developer side. So I loved like these types of conversations, because it allows us that quick second to go, this is pretty great. Every time that we bitch about a game, it's still pretty fantastic. Right.
We're still here on this pale blue dot,
I freaking
hurtling
love it.
through space.
Is there a particular type of game that kind of, like, when you see pop up, you go, "Yep, I connect with that," versus any other type of genre?
Really wanted What Remains of Edith Finch.
Oh yeah,
wanted that, but it came out right as the strike hit, and I think they went non-union.
Mm-hmm.
I was devastated by that one.
Mm-hmm.
That's my one, like, I wish I'd gotten that. I love narrative games.
Yeah,
I really like, and they're not the most popular. You know, I've gotten more followers from Destiny 2 than, you know, pretty much anything else to date.
Mm-hmm.
But I love the narrative stuff. I love being able to dive in and explore a character and really see what's making them tick and what's driving the story. Not that first-person shooters aren't fun, because they sure can be, although they're hell on your voice. But
yeah.
There was a session I did a couple years ago for a game that is out now, where there's a ton of different playables you can choose, but they didn't want to localize, and so it was just a bunch of grunts and growls and barfs and screams.
Barfs.
I mean, I'm serious. I literally like chomp on an apple and then and I was pregnant, and my throat was bleeding, like just bleeding by the time I left.
What in the world?
I was supposed to go to a session for this grocery store that I've been doing. I had to cancel that, which is my bread and butter.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, and here's God's honest truth. Like, I love video games. I love working in video games. They do not pay the bills.
Mm-hmm.
Do not pay the bills. They're fun and they're great, and you get to interact with people, and, you know, fans and whatnot. They don't pay.
Yeah.
So to have to cancel a commercial session, which is my bread and butter, which does pay my mortgage. You know, I know it sounds like, oh, poor you, I'm so sorry.
Not
but
even a little bit.
It took me 5 days to get my voice back, and any day I don't work is a day I don't get paid. I took 8 days of maternity leave.
Good God, what is the matter with you?
That's what I'm saying. Like, if I don't work, I don't get paid.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get time off. I don't get sick days. And this is the life I chose, and I love it.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of vitriol right now about the strike. There was a big article that came out featuring Ashley Birch, which was a brilliant article, but it's very easy to see us, voice actors, as entitled and money grubby and whiny. But I'm just trying to put like a human face to this. That's why it's such a big deal. Because if, like, I have friends who've had to have nodes removed from their vocal cords because of these screaming sessions.
Oh my gosh.
And they're out of work for months.
Yeah.
If they ever get their voice back.
Mm-hmm. So you're basically working like on a high-rise building without any safety equipment before. Like, is that kind of the goal of the strike, was to like establish maybe a little bit of, and you're part of a union already, so I'm not sure what is different from that perspective of what is required of you. Is there a maximum recording session time or things like that exist now?
Most video game sessions are 4 hours.
Yeah.
But you try screaming grenade for 4 straight hours and tell me how you feel.
I can't even do this for 4 hours without having my voice go.
It's really hard. It sounds ridiculous, but I promise you, if you have to die, here's another session. I had to die by, I was also pregnant, alien attack.
Okay.
Electrocution. Death by fire, falling off a cliff, getting shot, sword through the gut, sword through the head. I already talked about falling off a cliff. Getting hit by a car.
Yeah.
Like 12 different ways of dying, and I had to do each scream a 3-second, a 6-second, and a 9-second scream. Each scream
9 seconds.
Each scream 5 times.
Oh my gosh.
So you add that up, and I mean, again.
How does it even sound good by the last one? Like, how does it even sound like anything at all?
They don't care.
Right.
As long as they get what they want, they don't care. And like towards the end of it, like if you sound exhausted, if it doesn't sound great, that's fine. We'll just post-production. We'll add it. We'll do it in post. And I work with a lot of really great directors who do care, and who do limit the number of screams that they'll make you do, or they'll cut it into 2-hour sessions, which is one of the things from Strike. But even still, doing that for 2 hours is really friggin' hard. And most producers at this point understand the vocal stress aspect of it, and they understand, okay, well, clearly you have other jobs that you have to do, so we'll try to take it easy.
Yeah.
Some could care less.
I'm sorry. Was it something that just like needed to be brought up? Like, was there more of a force that needed to be pushed behind this thing to affect that change? Like, was the strike kind of a last? I guess it always is a last resort, but is that what was?
It was a last resort. We didn't want to strike.
Yeah.
We love work,
Mm-hmm.
but they weren't listening.
Right.
And I think, in fairness,
there's good people on both sides, Cissy.
there's absolutely good people. No, there are, and
It sucks that we can't even say that anymore. Like, I hate that is a joke now. That we can't say it. But of course, yes, in most cases, that should be the right thing to say.
But a lot of my friends are developers. A lot of my friends work for these game companies, and they're getting shit pay too.
Yeah.
And so I think the higher ups are worried that if the actors' strike was successful, if we were able to get bonus payments,
Right.
that their devs would unionize. And honestly, they should.
Right.
Because they're getting screwed 8 ways from Sunday, and that's not fair to them either.
How closely to the movie business do you see the video game business coming when it gets that? You probably get this all the time, but
No, it's fascinating because they try to tell us that they are a technology business.
right.
But
Not
then
entertainment at all.
Right. They behave like an entertainment
Right.
business, and they want entertainment dollars. And if you look at the money, video games are more successful than movies and television combined.
Mm-hmm. Is that what maybe allows them to say it's not entertainment because it's in a whole other league that pushes it to those dozens of people on the train going to Silicon Valley that, like, you know, there's a whole other realm of revenue over there that is way above what we see in entertainment.
Sure.
I think it's BS, but...
And there is a massive amount of technology involved in video games. Absolutely. I mean, it's all zeros and ones.
Yeah.
Right? But look at CG.
I was just going to say Lord of the Rings.
You know? So it's, again, like, a lot of my dear friends are devs, and I love them. And a lot of my dear friends are voice actors, and I love them too. And I think there are really valid points on both sides. There really are.
Yeah.
I just want us all to be taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a propensity right now to say, like, yeah, you talk for a living. Congratulations. You want more money for that? I do. I want to be able to pay my rent.
I think that's so ignorant, though. Like, you could say that about anybody. Like,
yeah,
take anybody's job and just reduce it to nothing. And you go,
sure.
You get paid for that?
And the grass is always greener.
Of course.
It is always, and I love my job. I love
Wait a
my job.
minute. I'm not really sure. Do you like your job? I can't.
I love my job. I love it. I love it. And it's afforded me, you know, a lot of joy.
Yeah.
And I love it with all my heart. I think there's room for improvement.
I was going to ask you about that. What's next then? What's where? So I feel like this is maybe there's always compromise. Neither side got exactly what they want, but I think that we're moving. I can still feel like this momentum that we're being carried into a new space. What's next? What's possible for the development and for the talent that's involved with it too?
You know, that's a huge question.
Yeah,
that's a really huge question. I think there's a part of it that maybe you know, developers don't necessarily. Like one of the devs on the struck list told Tara Strong, who is Tara fucking Strong, that a trained monkey could do our job.
Oh, sweet.
And so I think maybe seeing how people responded to the strike, and we'll see what happens when a lot of the non-union stuff comes out.
Yeah.
Realizing that, you know, listen, number one, if you're going to hire me for my fucking social media, that's because people like me enough to follow me, because they like something I've done and they identify with some characters that I've done. That's talent. That's not a trained monkey. Number two, if you're going to then insult me, but then want to hire me for this? Yeah. There's got to be a middle ground somewhere. And sorry, I swear a lot, so I just realized you're probably gonna have to bleep out all the shit.
No, I definitely won't. But I'm not writing a darn thing down, Cissy.
You know, I think there's a level of respect that has to happen on both sides.
Yeah,
true,
for sure.
Again, every voice actor I know knows how hard the devs work.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
we see them, we hear about crunch, and we're not asking for a larger piece of the pie. That was never the question. We're just saying, like I said earlier, I love making video games. It doesn't pay the bills, so make it interesting for me, and also give me protection. So if there was one of the sticking points also was that for a mocap shoot, we would show up and there would be no stunt coordinators on set.
Right.
So Phil Lamar, who's Phil friggin' Lamar, showed up to a thing where he was supposed to be hanging off a scaffolding.
Yeah.
And he literally built the scaffolding, and he was supposed to be up there in a mocap suit, and there was no stunt coordinator.
Well, it's fake.
And they
It's
just
video
wanted
games.
Right? But like that's bananas.
Yeah.
Like that is literally putting my life at risk.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things they acquiesced on, which is great.
God, you guys are so entitled. Like, do you even hear yourself speak right now? But you mentioned crunch, and I it's frustrating to me as like I don't have a dog in the fight. I don't have any say. I don't have any influence on it. But for me, it seems silly that because of crunch, you can't have safe working environments. You can't have why don't you work on that too? Like, why can't there be another discussion that talks about crunch and how insane that is and how that's ruining lives, you know, but
this opened up that discussion.
Good.
And they didn't want it to.
Right.
They didn't want it to.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, listen, I'm speaking as someone way down on the ladder.
Sure.
I'm so far down on the ladder, but, it is a discussion. And, you know, Amy Hennig put out this brilliant piece, not too long ago about the dangers of crunch and what it's doing to the community. And she's abso-friggin-lutely right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it is something that we need to take a good hard look at ourselves for, you know. I mean, listen, like I said, I came from a world where I was working 120 hours a week. That was my crunch, but that was every week.
Constant.
It was constant. It was shit pay. Yeah, I had stock options, but the company tanked. So great fucking, you know.
Yeah, here's your monopoly money.
Yeah, so it's like, there are discussions that need to happen, and again, as we are hurtling through space,
right?
You know, what is it? What's it worth?
Right.
What's it worth?
And it's interesting too. Going back to another topic we were discussing before, like, why does it take Amy freaking Hennig to finally have somebody listen? Like, it has to be somebody who's the number one, like within the top 5 talents, one of the top 5 creators in the business for anybody to pay attention to. It's almost like
nobody wants to listen to whiners.
That's true. You get tired of hearing people whine. That's and I think the other part too is that as soon as somebody said it's called crunch, it gave us a word to familiarize ourselves with it, and we think that we understand it, but we don't. And I sort of compare it to cancer in a lot of ways, where everybody knows cancer. Everybody knows about it. They think they know what it's about. But until you see somebody go through a journey, until you see somebody like waking up the next day after a chemotherapy treatment, you have no idea. And we have no idea what crunch is like. We don't know what it's like to go back home to your family after sleeping at the office for 2 weeks straight, like things like that. And even describing it doesn't quite do it. So it's, you know, I'm frustrated on behalf of people in that position, and I empathize with you because it sucks screaming from the rooftops going like, this isn't good, and then people going, look at you at the top of your ivory tower, you're fine up there, and you just want to affect some change.
It's been really vitriolic.
Yeah.
You know, even this article that came out with Ashley, Ashley's one of the kindest, just loveliest people on planet Earth. I mean, she really is just a beautiful soul, and the comments on this thing are just awful. And you know, it's interesting because again, I really try not to read the comments because they're hateful most often and very mean. But as a union, we need to know what we're in for.
Yeah.
We need to know if we'll have the public support for, you know, some things and not others. And you know, it's dicey.
Yeah. How, this is the last question before I've been very appreciative of your time this morning. How do you divide your time to, I got an audition for 1,000 things. I've got the jobs that I've signed up for. And there's this also sort of like movement part. Like, how are you an active member even now, or active voice trying? That's a terrible pun. in the movement for, better conditions and moving towards a better environment for everybody involved? How are you able to balance all of that?
It's hard. And I'm not as active as like Courtney Taylor and Phil Lamar and some of these other people. I've got a young family, and that takes the largest chunk of my pie. But I also have a thriving career, and I work a lot, and I audition a lot, and I just try to fit it all in before I collapse at night.
Yeah, who needs sleep aids when you just work hard all day and you just kind of fall horizontal at some point? Sissy, we'll close out, as if people didn't already know, where can they find you on Twitter, and what are some things you'd like them to check out as well?
Just find Sean bagging Firewatch, and I'm
sure. Exactly. You'll find any Firewatch hate thread, you'll probably see me somewhere in there as Yo Mama 69 is my handle.
That's amazing.
Sometimes underscore in between.
Sometimes. I'm Cissy Speaks on the Twitters and Instagram, and I have a Facebook page, but I don't really do much of it.
Great plug.
Yeah.
I always love when people do this. Like, I have like a .com, but like it's under construction.
I mean, listen, if you really want to listen to my demos, you can go to CissyJones.com.
There it is.
You can find my agent's information and see my headshots.
I love it.
But otherwise, no, I try to respond to people on Twitter, even when they're not being very nice.
Yeah, thanks.
I'm just kidding. No, I like to hear from people. I like to chat.
Well, thank you so much. This was a lot of fun. I had a great time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I'm sorry it devolved into the politics of video games, but it's really nice to talk about it. So thank you.
Are you freaking kidding me? Cissy Jones, Delilah from Firewatch, and 1,000 other things. Humans! She played humans on Shadow of War. Thank you so much to Cissy Jones. You know her on Twitter at Cissy Speaks. Thanks to John Wahl for making this happen. I'm so sorry, man. I feel like I really swooped in, and I hope you guys are able to connect and do something with Megadads as well, because that would be absolutely spectacular. I love how she finishes off with like an apology. I wanted to know, maybe like, are you sure you're not Canadian, Cissy? You finish off with a thank you and an apology. That's very Canadian, and I would know. Guys, thank you so much for watching and listening, watching on youtube.com/WeTheNerdy, hitting the thumbs up, subscribing. There's more of this. More, if this is your first time, there's more of this kind of stuff. More to come, and more to go back into the backlog. We got a few gems in there if you guys haven't found those already. Remember, I'm on Twitter at Sean Capri, Sean like Connery Capri, like the pants, follow the website. It's not mine, but I write for it, and I post this stuff on there, We the Nerdy, and you can follow the show at We the Gamercast, if for no other reason than to show your support. I really appreciate it, and it definitely helps. Just look at what Cissy and I were talking about today. People notice, so I really appreciate it, guys. Just hitting that follow, and remember as well, do a couple other shows. I do a Nintendo show with my good friend Bobby Pauls, the Nintendo Guru. It's called If We Ran Nintendo, on iTunes, Google Play, and youtube.com/Nintendo Guru. And I've already mentioned the Xbox Drive. I'm loving doing the show. If you didn't know, I record it while I drive to work, because ain't nobody got time for this many shows, for real. But it's about a half an hour, 45 minutes. It matches my commute time, so hopefully it matches your commute time as well. So that's on iTunes and Google Play, and I do it with Dave Moore. He's at Dayspace. If you like, you can consider supporting patreon.com/makeusbetter. We've got a few new goals on there, so you guys can check that out. And thank you. We're going to close this out, guys. Thank you to our artists, New Dad, or Dad Again, however you say that, Adam Leonard from Megadads, and Gary Gray, our video designer, Antonio Guillen from Switch Talk. This is powered by the Dayspace network of independent podcasts, where you can find other shows such as Nintendo Talk and Character Crunch. Otherwise, everybody, this has been episode 112 of We the Gamercast. It's in your ears and your eyeballs. Thank you again for listening. I'll be back next week, and I hope you're there too. Now it's time for Jason. We end the show with Jason. Bye, Jason.
Jason! 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 Sean! Sean! Jason! 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 Sean! 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 Jason! 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 Jason!